Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is David from Daveden Web Dev, and if you can see me, you can hear me, please do leave it in the comments so that I know that everything is working okay. So I'll just leave it for a bit to see if there are any comments, and then we can start. So today's build, I'm hoping is going to be a very good one. I'm a bit nervous because I don't have all my tools available. I'm going to be using just vanilla bricks. I may add some CSS variables I'll just copy off the internet, but we'll see how it goes. Okay. Okay, how is it now? Is it better? So let me go. I think I've increased the volume a bit, so help me know if the volume is better or not. So like I was saying, okay, good. Okay, thanks. So now we can start. So for today's build, we'll be building another site, which is from the Jamie Speed Build Challenge. I'll leave a link to them in the description now, so you can check them out. They'll be in the comments. So let me switch over. And this is the build we're going to be working with. It's the Pixel Goat website. So let me go ahead and drop them in the comments now. So we have pixelgoat.io. That's the link. If you want to look at it yourself, you can follow along. And I'll be dropping in the link to the actual build that I'm going to be doing live now. So you can go ahead and check it out if you want to follow along with what I'm building. So let's see. So you want to go and check the HTML. But like I said from the beginning, in my last build, please do not look at it on mobile because I'm not going to be really bothered about the mobile view. I'm focusing more on the desktop view. So let me go ahead and share it now. So this is the link. So I hope you can see the links in the chat. So those are what I'm going to be building, and we'll be, let me go ahead and spotlight it. Yeah. Okay, so let me see. It's there. Okay. So I've gone ahead, I've already installed bricks on my website. So basically all we have here is, let me go under appearance. And you can see all that we have is the bricks and a bricks child theme. For bricks, I'm using the latest version, which is 1.10. I'm just going to use the latest one. Then under plugins, there's basically just the plugins that came with it, which is Gutenberg and the SVG support. Then what else? Let's see. The pages, no page has been created yet. All of these are just the one that come default. And then under media, he has provided some images. So this is the images we're going to be using. So now this is all we have, and we'll start the build. So basically what he says he wants in the last live stream, if I remember correctly, all he said he wants is that he wants a sticky header. Then he wants there to be smooth scroll and I think the cards or something. I think he wanted us to build the cards. So I'll see if or how fast I can do it. I'm going to say I'll be pretty slow because I don't have the default ones that I normally use, but hopefully we'll get there. We'll get there in the end. Yeah. So now let's go in here. Then let me go to pages and then I'll start the clock. So let me first come to my screen so that I can show you how the clock looks like, and then we can start. So let me get everything, because I don't know how to use the one digital clock. If you know one digital clock that I can use, please do leave it in the comments so that I can check them out. But for now, I'll be using a manual clock. So, and this is the clock. So let's switch the mode. Yeah, so it's 30 minutes and we'll see how fast I can build. So now let me make sure I open the page on another screen so that I'm pretty sure of what I'm doing. So I don't have to be going back and forth too many times. So I'll just open the website on a different browser. So yeah, I have it somewhere else now. All right, let's go. So I'll start the clock. And the time starts now. So the first thing I'll do is under pages, I'll create a new page. I'll call it home or something. Publish it. Then that's it. I'll go back and I'll start creating my templates. So under settings. So to actually even finish the first step that he said about smooth scroll, I'll just go under settings and then under miscellaneous, they have the smooth scroll already set up. So I just press smooth scroll, active, and save settings. We've activated smooth scroll. So the first step is already done. Now I'll go to the templates. Then I'll create a new template. I'll call it maybe site header. Give it as the header, publish, and edit with breaks. So while that's opening, this is how the layout is supposed to look. So we have the image at the left. Then we have our nav, which also has this book a call. So I'm just going to make all of this into one nav and then the image. So first I'll start by adding in a section. Then within the container in the section, I'll add the image and a nav, so a nav nestable. So we have everything there. Then for the section, remember to change the HTML tag from section to a div because it's already in a header template. So you don't want to be having a group within a group. So basically, you just make it a div. Then I'll now give them some class names. So say this is maybe DDS header inner. Then the image of the DDS logo. The nav nestable, I'll call that DDS nav. Then within the nav nestable, I'll come over and then just give the nav items. Let me zoom in a little bit in case you can't see well. The nav items, I'll give it DDS nav list. Okay. Then I'll wrap this link in let me see what's going on. Can you all still hear me? I think I've had some issues, so let me go back to the chat and see. Is everything still working? Okay. Let me go. Still good? Oh, my screen is not showing. Oh yeah, sorry. I thought I switched it. Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you all. Sorry, I didn't look at the chat. Now the screen is on. So maybe I might as well just start it again so that everybody is in line with what I'm doing. So I'm not just talking to myself. So I can't believe I missed the chat. So let's just go back and close this. So basically all I did was I started with the home page and I went to breaks, then went to settings, and under settings, I just simply activated the smooth scroll, which is this one, smooth scroll under miscellaneous. Then that was the one for smooth scroll. Then I went to my templates and I created a new template, which is for the header. So let me go back to templates now. And the site header, I just created a new template and I called it site header. I hope we didn't miss too much. Yeah. Then let me edit it with breaks now. So nothing is there now. So I'm just going to start again. So I'll create a section. Then within the section container, I'll add the image and I'll add a nav nestable. So basically we have the image and then we have the nav nestable. So let me now give them classes. So for the container, I'll say DDS header inner. The image, I'll say DDS logo for site logo. For the nav, I'll say DDS nav. Then for the nav items, that will be a list. So I'll say DDS nav list. Then for each of these links, I'll give them a class. But first, I'll just wrap it inside a block so that I can get my li properly. So I'll wrap it in a block. This will be the nav list item. Okay. Then I'll give that DDS nav list item. Within the list item, and I'll give it DDS nav link. Okay. Then I'll delete the others. Delete the drop down. The toggle, I'll make it to be at the top. And the other toggle at the top as well, because the toggles should ideally come before the links in. When you're using like the mobile view, the toggle should be before the links. But breaks, I don't know why they set it at the bottom. I guess they expect you to create a separate nav for your mobile. But this time, in this case, we're just going to use the same nav. So let me go ahead and duplicate this. So that was, oh yeah, I forgot to change this to an li. So the HTML tag should be an li. Just make sure they are li's. Then let me go back and see. So we have 5 of them and the book call. So this is 4. Create a new one. That's 5. Then I'll create a new one again. This will be for the book call. So, but this case, instead of using a link, I'll use a button. So say a button within it. And that button is still a link, but just styled like a button. So clear this, make it dark. And it's called book a call. So now I can start adding in all of my styles. So this one is a button. So DDS nav, btn. Okay. So I'll start from the container. Let me add the image. Forgot about that. So image library, pixel goat. So one thing you should remember for accessibility, because it's an image that is a link, you just have to give it an alt text that is basically just announcing the page rather than announcing what is in the image, but you give an alt text that explains the image. So in this case, it's pixel goat website. So I'll just say pixel goat homepage. So that's where some people get it wrong. They start to describe the image itself, but you should be describing where the link goes to. So that's it. Let me give it like a width of maybe 120 pixels. I'm not sure. Max width should be 100%. Okay, save that. Then under the container, now I can set it to be a flex because I want everything to be on the same row. So display should be flex. Flex direction should be row. It should be aligned to the center. Then I'll give it a gap. So let me first save and do the rest. So for the nav, the UL inside the nav nestable, I'll do the same thing. Display flex, and then it's a row, but I think it's not working because the navs themselves, I used a block. I should have used a div so that they don't have any width. So I'll just give it a width of maybe auto, and everything should work out well now. Yes. Okay. I'll come back to the UL and make it 100%. So say width should be 100%. Same thing with the nav nestable itself. The width should be 100%. Now I'll come with the first magic, which is how can we get these items to be at the center? Because basically they're at the center. One trick you can use is with margin auto. So I'll give a utility class of margin auto. So for the first item here, I'll say under the style tab, I'll just give another last name, say margin left auto. And all that does is just give a margin left of auto. I'll do the same thing for the wrapper for the button. So margin left auto. And now everything is centered. That's a trick to center all of your items. So now we have the first step. So the next step is to actually start putting in all the links, but maybe I'll just do the portfolio. So the first one is a portfolio. And I'll just give the URL to be like portfolio. Later, I'll be adding IDs to the different items just to show the smooth scroll. The second one is how it works. So that's how it works. Same thing with the link, how-it-works. Okay. Then benefits, pricing, and FAQ. So benefits, pricing, and FAQ. Okay, so we have those. I'll leave that for now and go and do the rest. So all I'm going to do now is give it a background color. So let me just get the color from this. Then give that to the header. So under, or maybe I'll just give it to the section because section is also full width. So give the style, go to background, give it a color. I'll create a new color. Say the hex value and say DD CLR BG. I guess that's what it is. Or let me just say BG only. Then I'll save it. Save that color. So that color is now this. Oh, I should have put a var. And save. So we have our color, which is this color that looks kind of white, but it's not actually white. Yep. So save it. Then I'll give it a bit of padding, just so that it has some padding. For that, I'll just basically add some CSS variables to make my life easier. So let me go to settings, so the classes and variables, go to variables, bulk add some variables, and let me go ahead and just, I used two websites, Utopia and one other website, just to create some dummy variables. So I'm not even sure how they are actually. I've not tested them, but I'm just going to use them. So I've imported it, saved it, then I can continue. So for the section now, I'll just go to settings, theme styles, create a new theme style, call it main, create. Under section, I'll give the left and right padding to be, because those are the things I just created now. And the top and bottom should be var dd con. I think that's what they called it. Yeah. Just copy that, paste at the bottom. So this is for all my sections. So that should technically work. Yeah. So then under the section, make them 100% full width. Yeah. Let me remember under typography. I know Brick set it to 62.5%, which I don't like. I prefer 100% because that's what I'm used to. Then maybe the H1, I can now start using some of those variables that those things created for me. So font size var, dd, CLR, no, font size 2XL, I guess. Let's use that. And then the body, I use the base value. Okay, so I guess that's it for the typography. Then for the container, I'll set the max width to 100%. And the width, I think, let's see what they used. So theirs is 1280 pixels. So that's what I'm going to use. 1280. Okay. So we're getting there. All right. So we're done with the first step, which is the header. Now I'll go ahead and start creating the actual page. Then I can style it as we go along. So let me go to the pages, homepage, edit the homepage. First, let me I remember the second thing was that we're supposed to make the header to be sticky. To make the header sticky, I'm in the header template now. All I have to do is come over to template settings, header, and then just say sticky on scroll, save, and that's it. We're done. So that's how fast you can do it with Bricks. Let me refresh. And now I can start creating the actual page. So for the hero section, we have the content and then we have the image. So side by side, what I'll do is I'll create a section. That section comes with the container. Within the container, I'll create 2 blocks. One will be the content wrapper, and the other one will be the image wrapper or the media wrapper, whichever one you want to call it. Within the content wrapper, because we have the H1, then we have some text, I'll just use, and there are 2 different colors. So let me just create, I'll use a div instead of a header. And then you might be wondering why I'm doing that, but yeah, it should work. Basic text. So the 2 headings will now be span tags within them. So that's one thing about Bricks. You can use anything and then change the tag to what you want. So in this case, I want an H1. For the other ones, I want them to be spans. Then I can come back. This will be the headline. And then these are those text. So for the headline, it's supposed to be on demand, unlimited. So make that for the first basic text, on demand, unlimited. For the second one, it is design and development. Okay. Then for the headline now, I'll just give them classes, but first let me continue. Add another basic text for the description and a div for the button wrapper. Within that div, I'll add some buttons. Oh no, sorry. Buttons. 2 of them. Okay. So we have our buttons inside. This is how slow I am. Jeez. Time is almost up. So this is the description. Then I'll just give it, type enter. Not sure why it creates 2 BR tags. Maybe just me. Okay. So that's the heading and then the basic text, and we have our buttons. We'll style everything later. So see plans and watch intro video. So this is see plans, watch intro video. For this one, I'll just make it light. The other one, I'll make it dark. These are just defaults with Bricks. Bricks comes with some default styling that you can change those styles later. That's one thing I like about Bricks. So then the image wrapper, let me add an image now. And then within the image, it's this one. Okay. Now we can start in all the styles. So I'll come to the container. Maybe I'll say the section should be maybe DD hero. This will be hero inner content wrapper. The content wrapper. For that, this is the headline. For the headline, we just make it. Is everything okay? Okay, yeah. So we'll just make it to be, let me go to display, should be flex, and direction should just go down. So that's how you can now trick it. So basically, I created a div that was acting like a heading. Then what else? I can add some styles later for the rest, but let me just continue with the container. Give it a display of flex direction column, yeah. Or row, I mean, not column. Then I'll set everything to be centered. This looks quite big. I have to reduce it a little bit for the heading. We'll fix that later. Okay, what else? Then we have to get the color. I think this color, I'm just going to copy what they did because I think it was a gradient or something, and I'm not sure what colors they used, so just copy it. So for the second one, hero, the fancy headline, go to the style tab, and then just press root and paste it in. So we have that color. Maybe on the headline, I'll just reduce the font size a bit. So say var, maybe XL. That looks better. Okay. Then I'll just say that's it for the image. Let me just go to the page. I think if I see the colors, I don't know, they are very light, so it might not be showing properly. But yeah, the colors, there's a background color. Let me go to the theme styles now, and under general, site background, I'll give it the same color that I had before, which is this one. So that should apply to the entire website. Okay. So I think everything's coming along nicely. Let me just give some space to the description. So that should have a little bit of space at the bottom. Let me say margin or something. Do we have any space? Excel something or L? Okay, save. Okay, so I'll just say I'm done with this section. I'll continue with the next section, which is this one, which the images. So create a new section. Okay, then within that section, I'll add a heading and maybe for the images, I think there are. So maybe I will just do this as a list. So a div within a div. So div and another div. The first one is going to be a UL. Then this will be an LI. And then within the LI, let me say list item. There will be an image. So image. So for each of the images, I can actually use a gallery block, but I'm just going to do this manually. So I'll say the image grid list or something. List item and the image. I'm not doing it properly, but yeah, this is what I have for now. So the first image is Amazon, then Fanatics. So Amazon. Okay. Then I'll just duplicate this. The next one is Fanatics. Then next one is Samsung, Groupon, and ShareGrid. Okay, we're almost done. All right, so we have that. Then let me go back to the list. Remove the list styling. So I'll just say root. And then list style should be none. Margin 0, padding 0. Okay. Then that's just the default to remove all of those spacing for the default in the list. Now I can continue, make it a flex direction row, then align them to the center and do a space between. Okay. Then for each of them, I will now come to the image and then maybe say root. I'm not sure it will work, but let's see. Be max content. No, sorry. Width should be max content. Didn't work, or maybe just 100 pixels. That worked. Okay. So did I miss anything? Then should be space between on this. Okay. Space between the divs. Okay. And then this is a flex. Then with the gap, column gap, I'll say var dd grid gap. Let me see why it's not working. Let me refresh it. Oh yeah, I think should that be the problem? This is a list, and then these are list items. So yeah, it should work. I'll check it out later. I'm not sure why it's not working. But let me continue. Copy this. Come back to the heading. This will be maybe an H2. Save. Come to the container. I'm just going to style on the ID level. Go to layout. Oh no, typography. Make everything centered. Then go to content. Go to, it should be the column, and then it should be centered as well. Oh yeah, because the list is a div. Now I remember why it's not working. I need to make the list actually have a width of 100%. I should have used a block rather than a div. So now it's working. Then the image, now I can make the image to be something bigger. So maybe let's try with max content first and see. That will be too big. So let's just go with 200 pixels and a max width of 100%. Okay. Maybe 200 is too big. 150 pixels. I'm obsessing about this too much. I should move on to something else. Let's go to the container and just give it some spacing. So I'll just use the gap, row gap, var the. I'm just going to be using grid gap for everything. Okay, save that. Not sure why it didn't work, but yeah. Then this one, I think I'll just make the size a little bit smaller. So typography, font size, var, maybe base or MD. Save it, refresh the page just to be safe. So we're almost there. Then I think this is the last section. So we'll see where I go. I don't think I'm going to get that far, but section, we have this heading block. So I'll just create two containers. So one for the heading area and then the other one for this list of cards. Within, let me just copy this. Okay, come to the heading. So the first section is going to be for my heading, it's like a heading wrapper. So put in the heading and a basic text. So for the heading, I'll make it to just be the first heading. I don't know why all the variables are not working for some weird reason. There should be some gap for all of the sections, but they're not pulling in. Let me go back to the settings and see. Theme styles for the section. It seems maybe the variables I copied are not working like they should. Maybe under CSS variables. Maybe I didn't copy them properly. Oh, I wrote 3xi, that's why. Just save and see if everything works now. Close this, refresh. I guess I didn't copy the CSS properly. That's why the variables are not working fine. Because from what I can see under the variables, I think I can see some of the class names are weird. Like this one doesn't have a closing tag. save that. Oh, I should have looked at what I was copying. Well, I guess it happens to all of us. Yeah, I guess something else is wrong, which I'm not seeing. But yeah, I guess I'll just stop here because it's time already. So that's it. It is. I guess this didn't go as I planned. Let me see on the front end what happened. Let me go to the class, inspect, and see why the classes did not work. So let me stop it. The time is up. So we have the section didn't get the padding. Why? Because it wasn't defined. So let me go back and see why it wasn't defined. CSS variables. Okay, yes, because they were called SpaceX. It didn't change the names. That's why everything wasn't working as expected. I should have used the proper classes. That's why you should always not just copy I just copied it from a source. I didn't even read the source to see if it generated what I needed. Now let me save this, and I believe it should work now. Come back, refresh. The other one too, refresh. Yeah, now the classes are coming in and doing what they should have done. I guess that's on me for not checking. But let me just go to this section, remove the padding on the top, at the bottom, make it maybe like 10 pixels. And 10 pixels. Okay. Yeah, so that's it. Hopefully, you're able to at least gain something from it. The design was not working because I did not look at my CSS variables properly. If I had looked at my CSS variables well before the project, then all of this will have been faster and everything will have worked out next time. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Web Mega. Yeah. If I do next time, I should be a bit faster than this. I was slower. But yeah, what do you guys think? Please do let me know in the comment section. How do you guys normally build your websites? Do you use like frameworks? Do you use like ACSS frames? Do you use core framework? Do you create your own little framework? Let me know in the comments so that we'll see how everybody does theirs. Once we're done with that, then we'll go and talk about accessibility, which is what might get a lot of people a bit confused most of the time when you hear the word accessibility. But yeah, let's see. Oh, okay. I shouldn't be doing a speed build anymore. I think, I understand what you're talking about. The speed build is it's too fast to follow most of the time. It's better to do it at a slow pace, which is why I like the other format, which Matt and the others came up with. That format is a lot better because everybody gets the time and to explain their processes and explain why they choose to do certain decisions or certain things. Let me go ahead and show it off to people in case people don't know about it. Let's see. Let me go to maybe YouTube. And search for this one by Matty. It was I think the format is way better. You get to see everybody as they build in a slower paced manner and then they explain everything to you. I was rushing, I was going too fast, and I apologize for that. So maybe the next format will be a bit slower and it will be more me explaining my processes. But yeah, so how do you guys normally build your websites? Do let me know. Do you use frameworks at all? Or you think frameworks are, because I know a lot of people say frameworks are too expensive. They start to talk about the cost. Although I think core framework is way cheaper, right, than ACSS. But both of them give you much value for your money, because if I'm building without a CSS framework, you can see, although I was typing fast, but I was not actually getting anywhere in fast speed because I didn't have a framework already created. If I had one created already, the speed would have been way faster than this. So, yeah. But that's it about the speed build. Now, on to the next topic of the discussion, which is going to be talking about accessibility and the importance of accessibility for web design. So let me go ahead and pull up some documents that some people might find interesting to read. Let me see. Okay. So, and all of this discussion started with Amber Hines when she released her report recently, and it got a lot of debates sparked in different groups, people saying that it wasn't a fair comparison and things like that. And in a way, you might say, yes, it's true. On the other hand, there's validity in it, and I will show you proof of why page builders should put in accessible defaults, but still give users the flexibility to do what they want, because that's has always been my motto. The default should be as accessible as possible, but then you now give the users the opportunity to change things as they like. So let me go ahead and just show you the starting point of what accessibility is all about. So let me open a new window. Yeah. And let me share my screen. So yeah, basically for accessibility, you are just thinking about 4 groups of users, basically. You are just trying to say how you can give your users as much as possible so that they can understand your website. Because, sometimes, let's say you have a group of 5 students in class. I remember when I was in class, we used to have this problem where we have like 5 students in class, or like maybe a group of like 200 students in class. There'll be those students who are so exceptionally brilliant, and they'll be going at such fast pace. So the lecturers, if the lecturer is not careful or the teacher is not careful, he starts to go at the pace of the very exceptional students. So he starts teaching things so complicated, and unfortunately that now puts the people who are slow learners, they start to struggle, and then they are left behind. So that's the same way with web design and websites. You see, you're building websites with that knowledge or that mindset that I'm building for people who have all the sense organs working perfectly. So their eyes are working perfectly, their hands, their motor skill is great, they can use a mouse, they can use a keyboard. So you start to make so many kind of like things in your website with that idea that everybody is as good as me, or everybody can like understand the same way I understand things. But that in reality is not how it is. There are several varying kinds of people. I will leave a link to Anne Mike's blog where she explains so many things to us. Let me see if I can. Let me just close all these windows so that I have the right one open. Yes. So we get this link, which I'm going to share now. It's something that Anne has been trying. She puts everything in a nice way, into a nice perspective, so you understand the whole thing about accessibility. Because that's one thing. Everybody keeps talking. Like I was speaking to somebody on the Bricks community, and then he made a comment that got to me. He said that he checked his Google Analytics, and then he saw that there is nobody who needs accessibility using his website. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the world does Google know when somebody is blind, or that somebody is deaf, or that somebody is like just slightly visually impaired or has color blindness? Google does not know that. So how in the world did you get that information to say that nobody using your website has an accessibility problem? That is already a false statement. That mindset, we should not be having that kind of mindset. We should have the mindset that I am trying to reach out to a wide range of people, and so I should try my best to accommodate everybody's needs. That is just that empathy. You have to have that empathy to say, I'm trying to accommodate everybody's needs. And the 4 groups that you're trying to reach out to are, let me go ahead and open it again. So let me close this page so I can share. So basically, there are 5 categories that we talk about. I'll share my screen in a minute when I can find the link. Let me go open it. So yes, so let me share the screen now. So what were the core principle? I will leave a link to it in the description soon. The core principles that we are following with web design is just what is articulated in this WebAIM document, and that's it. That you should always build with the mindset of these 4 key principles. Your website should be perceivable, or every component in your website should be perceivable, it should be operable, it should be understandable, and it should be robust. That is the 4 core principles of WCAG. So from WCAG 1 till date, they have not changed it. Those are the 4 core principles. The only thing is that they start to explain all of those principles into greater depth. So you see, what does it mean to be perceivable? It means that sight, hearing, and touch, you should consider those things. If you now expand on that, what that means is, first, your website for a standard visual user should be able to identify everything on your website. So let's say, look at the links. If you hover over this link, you can see there is an interaction. There is a color change and the thickness changes because they tried their best not to only rely on colors. That is another rule that you must always remember, that whenever you're trying to show a change in something, try to show it in twos. So there should be more than one change, because some people might miss out the first change, but then they can see the second change. So you see, for this website, they try to make it thicker and they change the color. So at least the person would be able to see one of those two. And that is for a visual user. For somebody who is using a keyboard, if you press the tab key, so start tabbing, you see there is this focus outline around each link. That shows you that that link is clickable. It's giving you that visual cue for a keyboard user. So you have to always have those cues. Think about people who have visual impairment or who are using things like assistive technologies or keyboard. So you should see there is always that visual change that you can see on the screen, and you can see the added color as well as the shape. They're trying to just give you as much information as possible so that you can easily identify that if you miss one of the items, you can always identify with the second item. There's also the matter of screen readers, because many people, we build websites thinking about visual people, but there are people who rely on assistive technologies like screen readers, like voice control. That's another thing. So that's why if I can find the document, they always say, do not make there to be much discrepancy between what is shown visually and what is read to a screen reader. So don't say maybe read more as the visual text on your button, like in this button now, say 1-page PDF file, but then you don't go ahead and put an area label that says download some pages which can be found on a website. You are now creating a discrepancy between the assistive technologies accessible name and what is shown visually. So somebody who is using like voice control and says, maybe like how we have with like your assistive technology, like Siri and things like that, and it says open 1-page PDF file or something like that, it will not be able to find it because the name that is being read out to them as assistive technologies is different from what is being shown visually. So the person will be trying to get the link, but they cannot get the link because that is not the name that is being announced to them in the back end. So that's why if you're having a visual text, make sure that that visual text and whatever is going to be read to the screen reader are in line with each other. So you can say maybe if you have like a read more button, you have read more as the visual text, then you can now append something to the back to say maybe read more about, then you link to the page title. So that when a voice control user says open the read more link, it will still open that link because it can see read more, but then with some extra information at the background. So those are the key things you have to think about. And that's just for perceivable. Then the next thing is operable. That means I should be able to operate it with whatever device which goes back to the same thing about voice control, mouse, keyboard, and other assistive technologies. There are different ways. Some people use mouth stick and so many other different kind of things. Then there is the other one, which is that it should be understandable. Don't go and start giving people bogus text, which if people have been following my comments, I posted something recently on my Facebook where I talked about how I read a text and I was asking questions. I did not realize that the answer was at the bottom. So that's why they always tell you that do that TDLR or TLDR, so that people can easily, at the beginning, your topical sentence should contain the most valuable information that the person wants. Then the person can continue reading further. If the first sentence or the first part doesn't give the information, the person might miss out on that information that he needs. You should also make it simple for like even a ninth grader or somebody who is still in secondary school to be able to read your text. You don't have to be using all of the biggest languages in the world because you are a grammar student. Try your best for a general use website. It should be as simple to read as possible. I think I've been missing out on the chat. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, so that is it about the principle. It should be understandable, and then it should be robust. That means whether I'm using a phone or I'm using my smartwatch or I'm using a big television, your website should be able to adapt to different technologies. That's why it's always recommended that when you're even choosing your CSS, people like to use cutting-edge CSS that just came out recently, but that is now breaking accessibility because you should try, even though you're using like all these container queries and all of these new CSS that's coming out, still cater for people who are on older browsers. That's why we have things like post CSS and all of those things to try to create some extra autofix so that, or auto prefixer, so that people who are on older browsers can still like benefit from our websites. Don't just disregard people who are like maybe on a 2018 Mac. You say no, it's no longer needed because you have the money to buy the latest tech. Doesn't mean everybody has the money to buy the latest tech. So you should always have those things at the back of your mind, that empathy to think about other people's needs and what their dreams and their goals are and what their limitations are. So always have those things at the back of your mind. And now I'll open one website that to counter one question that somebody asked in one of the groups, I think the admin bar group. He made one comment which made me upset, and I will it might get some people angry here as well when I talk about it, but let's see how it goes. Let me try and open the website. If you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments. I'll get to them. Let me see if I can open the website. Okay. Because when it comes to accessibility, a lot of people, one mistake they make is that they rely solely on some of us thinking that we know everything. The reality is that nobody knows everything. We are all learning from each other. We all make mistakes. That's why even with plugins, you have bug reports. You have to keep like fixing bugs and things like that. So let's see. Let me try and share my screen. Let's see. I think it's okay. I think it's this page. Okay. Yeah. So here we go with one page that I created on a demo. My friend helped me create on his staging site. Basically, it has ACSS frames and all of that. So the thing that the person said was that he has checked all of his Bricks websites and he's certain that all of his websites pass WCAG guidelines, that the WCAG 2.1 AA guidelines, because he's using ACSS and frames, and he's using bricks with the native settings. Like, he didn't change any settings in his bricks install. So like, and I specifically asked him, are you using any of the components from bricks, like the accordion or things like that? He said, I think he said yes. I can't remember what he said. But that then I was now wondering if you are using, when the report that Amber Hines mentioned, she mentioned clearly that the bricks native settings is not accessible. You now come and tell me that you're using the native settings and your website is accessible. And he was now mentioning how he used Wave, which I'm going to show you now, used Wave and some other tools, and they show that he's WCAG 2.1 accessible or compliant. So now let's see. This is a demo site. It has the tabs from bricks. These are the bricks basic tabs. We have the nestable tabs. We have the native accordion. I didn't do much. I just literally dropped them into the page. We have the nestable accordion. Then we even have this frames button just to add to the mix, to show that nobody is like is beyond mistakes. We all make mistakes one way or the other. So now let's go ahead and see. I'll open with any tool out there. So let's even check the headings. There are no errors with the headings. I'll check with a different one now. Let's see, maybe Wave, which is popular, that many people use. It shows that there are no errors, no alerts. The only thing that's there is the contrast errors, which is my mistake, is the colors from these links. So that's something. Let me close that. I will even use the last one, which is Axe Dev Tools. So that's another one, Axe Dev Tools. I'll go ahead and scan the entire page. It shows, okay, so it shows one problem already. So let me see where that problem is coming from. Okay, so something in the button is wrong. Let's see. Oh, okay. That means he made a mistake in one of the buttons. I think the second button, he used area hidden equal to area hidden instead of area hidden equals to true or something like that. So that's not the issue I'm trying to show here. But that's already, you see, so it is, nobody is beyond mistakes. Our knowledge is limited. Nobody has ultimate knowledge. Sorry for any background noise you might be hearing. So now let's go ahead. So I've tested it with so many automated tools, and all of them say that I'm compliant. But the moment you do any manual testing, you realize that I'm not compliant with WCAG guidelines. So let's go ahead and start. I'll use my mouse. Okay. Ideally, there should be something to show a hover state, which I didn't add, but those tools cannot find that. These ones are working. Okay, there are some changes, so you can see the changes. So those are working. And the button, it works with the keyboard. It works with my mouse. So everything is working with the mouse properly. Now I'll go to a keyboard test. And then I'll just use it with the keyboard and start tabbing through. And the moment you see these focusable elements, I can actually focus on them. See, all I can focus on is the link within the tab. I cannot actually go to, so I wouldn't even know that there was a tab in this page. If I go to the next one, I skipped all of the accordions down to the frames button. So literally all of these things are not keyboard accessible. And then the argument was that, oh yeah, but you can add the keyboard interactions, which is true. But then how do you add it? You have to start putting the button tag first for this one. Then you have to start using pure JavaScript, because you have to make sure that you are moving focus properly using the arrow keys among the tab titles. Then the tab key should focus inside the tab panel and so many other things like that. So you have to now know all of those things. So in the end, that means the components is useless, because you have to now be aware about all of these JavaScript components and how they work before you can actually create the component yourself. So rather than even using their component, you might as well just go ahead and create your own component and forget about their components. So that is the problem that she's trying to point out, that Bricks is so powerful. You can make so many changes yourself, but you have to now know the changes to make. And how many of us know how to make an accessible tab? That's what the reason why we chose to use a page builder, because we want to rely on them to create things that will help us out to create accessible websites. And we should not just, like I've just pointed out here now, don't just be so focused on like, oh yeah, because I have all these tools, that means I'm accessible. That is the hope we have, but unfortunately, we have to keep doing tests manually. You can't just rely on them. And I'll show you, even with the frames button, which is a new widget he just created. Even that one has some problems, although it doesn't have any problem visually, but it has some problems, which I'll just show you using the HTML. So I'll inspect it. Then I'll go to accessibility tree. Then let me just go ahead and find the button again, inspect. Okay. So as you can see, it has this button, and then the list within the button is not actually hidden. The list can be seen, although it's visually hidden in the DOM or in the accessibility tree, that list is still showing. So basically, what you're doing now is you're violating one of the rules, which says that when the focusable element can be focused on, there it should be like literally hidden. So you have to use something like either area hidden or visibility none or display none or something like that, some way to hide it from the DOM, because otherwise you can think that you have hidden it, but a screen reader user will be getting access to that link, which I'll just prove to you now. Let me even use something simple like, or let me open NVDA. I don't know if you'll be able to hear the NVDA
title.
Oh,
YouTube Live Control Panel. YouTube Live Control Panel.
Oh yeah, hi Max. Yeah, I just
Item
keep
3. I am a so-called
so many
item
things.
3. I am a so-called volume slider for NVDA audio.
Okay. So now I have NVDA open. I don't know if all of you can hear the NVDA in the background. So let me just increase the
OBS 3.0.
Okay. So here now I am on my page.
Accessibility demo. Banner landmark navigation landmark list with 4 items. Home visited link. About blog contact main. See options. Accessibility demo. Bricks playground site document.
So if I'm using the tab key, I was just using the tab key to move around right now. If I'm using the tab key, then there is no problem. It is hidden from me. But studies have shown that screen reader users, the tab key is like one of the least items that they use. Tab key is very slow for them. So they use other ways of navigating, which I'll show you now. And I'll be able to access that link because he didn't hide it properly. So let me now start again from the beginning. So I'll go to the home.
Link skip to main content.
So I'll use the D key to quickly skip between the
banner landmark Daveden web dev home graphic.
The landmark regions. Let me just use one.
Main landmark several bricks elements with potential errors heading level 1.
Okay, then I'll press the down arrow key now.
Heading list click out clickable title 1.
So if I use the arrow keys, then I'll be able to access these things.
Clickable title 2.
So now, that's the thing. Screen reader users will still be able to access your tabs, but in a weird way. They wouldn't understand how the tabs work because you're not using the right area, roles, labels, name, and things like that. But a keyboard user will not be able to access the tabs. On the other hand, with the frames button, let me just quickly go down to it.
Menu button, heading level 2 frames button.
So now I'm on the frames button. If I press the down arrow key now,
menu button collapse sub-menu see options.
It's okay, it says collapse. But now let me press the down arrow key again and you see what happens.
List with 3 items visited link destination number 1.
So the person will be inside the list, but he cannot see it visually. It is there because what I think the team did, let me just exit it. Because
visited link desk exit.
what the team did is that, let me inspect it. I just closed my NVDA now. And basically, they were using, let me see in the list. So he was, okay, so let me hide them again and see. So he was hiding the tabs using tab index of -1. But that is only hiding from tab focus. It's not actually hiding it on the screen. So all you're just done is just hide from tab focus. But then that is not the only way to access your components, which is what brings me to the next thing I'm going to show now. Let me see if I can find it. The idea is that, there are two recommendations. We have two recommendations that we are supposed to use. Can I get it? Okay, yes. So let me copy these. I'll drop them in the chat now. Whenever you're building components, just use these two websites. One is the ARIA Authoring Practices Guide, and the other one is for the US Web Design Systems. So let me go ahead and pop them in the chat now. So in case for people who are watching, so this is for the APG guide, and the other one is for the US. They have come up with several components that you can use. These components will just help you out easily to know what to do in any situation that you're in. So let's say you have a button. You want to see how to properly style the button or properly code a button, especially interactive elements, because from the WebAIM reports, which I'll show up, let me see if I can find it. I was not, see, unlike Max, he was well prepared on his presentation yesterday. Mine, I'm just going around the block. Hopefully we get there in the end. So let me see. WebAIM, they had a report recently. Yes. I think it was earlier this year. And the report showed that these are the most problematic items for like people who use assistive technology. The first one is capture, especially when you want to start creating your own capture. You know, a lot of people like to do things on their own. They don't want to follow the system, so they want to create their own capture. They come up with some nice fancy pictures, but they forget that not everybody can see the pictures. So somebody who is visually impaired is just stuck. He doesn't know how to rearrange your pictures. But if you see with some of the other well-established ones, they either just make it something that you can just click and that's it, or you have an alternative, because you have to always have an alternative. You see, they will give you like audio version, or they'll give you some kind of another method you can use to use the capture. But many of us, we like to do things on our own. We like to say we're trying to break out of the system. We don't want to be tied down to the system, so we want to come out of the system, which is a good thing. We should always try to explore, but that now leads to problems a lot of time, because you're now not remembering to add in all of the required information, especially when it is not a semantic HTML element, because let's face it, tabs are not semantic HTML. You are creating things that are not existing yet in HTML. That's why you have to do a lot of ARIA information, ARIA selected. You do the ARIA controls and so many other things to try to come up with a component that a screen reader or any other assistive technology can now try to manipulate to be as accessible as possible to people who are visually impaired or people who rely on those assistive technologies. And the second most problematic item is the interactive elements, for good reason. I will show you two elements now and show you problems that are with them, which I noticed. So let's say, sorry to point out all these people's websites. So code snippets, they came up with this nice toggle switch, but if I'm using a keyboard and I'm tabbing through, see, I'm tabbing through all the links, I can find all the links, but the moment I get to the switch, I have no idea where I am now. My focus is gone because there's no focus state on the switches. See? So I have to now be using powers of deduction to know where I am. How am I sure I'm on the switch and not on maybe this sale badge? Nobody knows because there is no like focus outline on it, and that's because probably they used a system which works, because if I press the spacebar key now, it actually works. But because they didn't follow the design system that is already established, so it works visually, but not on the other hand, because like when a screen reader user comes to it, it's even worse because all the screen reader user will hear is blank. You wouldn't even know what that thing does because there's no like visible label. Ideally, you add in this label inside of the because I believe he's using radio icons, I think, something like that. Input type equal to checkbox. Yeah, so he's using checkboxes. So but within the checkbox there is no like label. So when a screen reader user gets onto it, all you hear is blank, and then that's it. But ideally, what you have to do is either use an area label or you put a text inside which starts before the components happens, and then you'll be able to get feedback from screen reader users. So and it's not just him. I just stumbled across. Let me see. This new website. It has the same problem because there is no visual cue to tell us that we're on this link now. See, it works with the spacebar and the enter key. Oh no, okay, the spacebar, yeah, because the spacebar is the key for most of these checkboxes and all of these inputs. So when I press the spacebar key, it works, but you cannot see visual focus because there's no focus outline on the switch. And while I was not even testing it, I now realize that it's even a bigger problem than just that. If you go with maybe DevTools and then scan it, you would see, I think, yeah. So there's area role should be appropriate for the element. He's using if I remember correctly, a role equal to button or something like that. Yeah, so ID equal to checkbox, role equal to button, and this is not a button. This is supposed to be a switch. So you can use role equal to switch or role equal to checkbox and then add some other extra information to it. But he used role equal to button, which is not allowed on this input. So when you try to use a screen reader to listen to it, it will give you some weird announcements. But it will still, I think it will still work for screen reader. I can't remember. Let me test it out. So I'm just trying to open NVDA. Okay, so I'll press
WordPress banner landmark link digital gravy.
Okay, then tab key now.
Banner landmark button.
So you see what happens because it's not coded properly. It just says button. It doesn't tell me what the button does. I have no idea what that button does, but it just says button. But like he said, like people have already told me before that for these websites, in most cases, it's not like most people who come to ask agency owners for web design, they are usually people who are not visually impaired. So that's why many people don't bother to, because
software built for.
Let me exit it.
Exit NVDA.
Because I think the argument was that he builds plugins for Bricks users. So he doesn't really need to focus so much on some of these things because people who use Bricks have to have some certain requirements. You cannot have visual impairment, like be reliant on screen reader and use Bricks. You won't even be able to go anywhere within Bricks. So that's something. Yeah, I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, Max. That's the thing about accessibility. Even I am still learning about this accessibility. It's a broad topic, and that's why I like the way Anne approaches it. She approaches it in a way that says, I'm not perfect. I am also learning. So we're all learning together and we shouldn't be pulling anybody down. So that's the same like ideology. Like that's why I liked the way both of you had the conversation yesterday, trying to be like more positive. Say, it doesn't matter if you're using FSC or whatever. We just want it to be the best. We shouldn't just pull down somebody saying, oh yeah, because you're using this, you're bad, you're terrible. Rather, we should say, okay, how can we make it better? That is the idea. Okay, you look at my website is not perfect as well. I have a lot of issues in my website. You look at Breaks, the plugin is great, but it also has a lot of issues. You can hear people talking about some things are a bit slow and all of that. But you come to them with the right attitude and say, okay, this is how we can improve. This is what you can do to improve it. And the person will most likely change. But on the other hand, if you come with this attitude of like the way we all like to put down Gutenberg and say this is just bad, just terrible, is you're making the devs feel so pathetic that they won't. Some of them will not even do anything, which happened. I think was the same thing that happened with Quickly. I'll keep mentioning that. Depending on how you like approach talking to the person will have an impact. So if you come with that positive, yes, we can both win attitude, then the person will be more inclined to like participate. But when you just come to tell him, oh, your plugin is so bloated, I don't see any point of me using your plugin, it's so bloated, the person will just feel so like disheartened that he wouldn't even try to change it. He'll just let it be like that and then keep using that bad plugin. But when you come with that, that's why I like the way they approach it. I'm trying to change my attitude, but I do realize that many times I still like say things and I go back home, I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have said it that way. That is not really a nice way to tell people, because we all have this in our mind. Okay, yes, I know it all, and I know it better than most people. So the way we approach the conversation is always this pull down attitude. Oh yeah, if you do it this way, you are wrong. If you do it that way, you're not following best practices. It's totally true. Yes, we're not following. In fact, I should say, if you watched from the beginning, my speed build was pathetic. I didn't go far. I made so many mistakes. But if you come and tell me, okay, yes, since I saw the way you built the website, and these are the key takeaways you can do. You can maybe do it this way. You can use a framework. You can, rather than using this website to create your framework, use this other website, things like that. Things that are like that positive attitude. That is what builds people up. Not all of the negativity we keep hearing in WordPress. There's too much negativity saying, oh, this person is not doing that well. This builder is bad. That builder is terrible. The developers of that builder, they're just reading those comments, those negative comments, and they're just feeling like, oh no, what's the point? And some of them just either shut down and go away, or some will not care and continue doing it the way they have been doing it. Only a few will take your very harsh words and still like take it as a positive way to move and things like that. So that's why, still going back to the beginning, I've veered off a lot. The whole thing, which I'm happy about that report from Amber Hines, is that now it has opened the eyes of the developers of all of these page builders and plugins to fix the defaults. Because, like I say about Elementor, people have been praising Elementor after that report. But let me now show you one report that I found recently. Let's see, is it this page? Let's see if I can find the report. No, it's not this. Oh, I think I've closed it. Let me try and get the report up. Let me go to my. Do I have a note? Yeah, okay. So I'll drop a link in the chat very soon, and then you can go ahead and read that report yourself and see how the report is. Let me open the page. So here is the report. Basically, as much as we have been praising Elementor, because some of the things that they did in their, especially like their old plugins, the widgets and things like that, see the percentage, say that they're like, these are the worst ones that they found on the internet. Basically, see Elementor, they scanned 44,500 pages websites, and they found out that half of those websites had problems. The average number of errors was 51.2. So basically, for every website they checked, the averages they were finding were like 51.2 problems with those web pages, just using automated tools, not even going to use manual testing. These were mostly with the Wave Dev tool and some other things like that. They were already finding so many errors, and which, let me go back to that code snippets website if I can find it. Code snippets. Let's see if it loads. Something, I guess it's not loading anymore. But anyway, when you check the website, if you just quickly look through all of their like header, main, footer, you will notice that the header section, it has no header tag. The footer section has no footer tag. Oh yeah. Oh, in the report. Okay, let me go back to the report. Yeah, these are the 1,200 different types of. These are the popular ones. Not Bricks is popular, but it's just popular from like how many months ago or like how many years ago. These are Elementor has over how many million followers, so they are bound to be a bit more than you see with Bricks. And because this one they only have Divi, they have Webflow, because those are the popular ones that most people use. Then WordPress and so many of these other ones. Oh yeah. Thanks, Max. Yeah, no worries. You can. We'll catch you in the next stream. I'll hopefully jump on one of your streams and see with more of those AI, because I love hearing about AI because I'm very backward in AI. But yeah, we'll be on more chats hopefully. But yeah, that's it with all of these streams and things like that. So don't just think that because my website is using Bricks, or because my website is using GeneratePress, or because I'm using an accessible theme, that means my website is accessible. That is far from the truth, because there are always going to be like bugs or mistakes, or things like when you are typing very fast, you make some slight mistakes, and that will cause something to not be accessible. So even when you see most people who talk about accessibility, that they are compliant, they always put in the accessibility statement that there are potential errors. If you find any error, please reach out to them and then explain the error, and they will fix it, because nobody knows everything. You think you know everything. Like, I am very limited. My knowledge about the auditory problems is very limited. I don't know. That's why I don't know how to write good captions for my website, for my videos or transcripts and things like that, because they are limited as well. So many of these things, you should just keep like trying to get better. Don't just say it is a once and done thing. It is never once and done. It's always a process. You keep getting like better. You keep improving. You keep getting feedback from people. So that's why user feedback is very important. If you give the users that's one thing that I always talk with Elementor, that they should always do like user feedback testing. And I think they started doing it more recently, and they're getting better with their builder, because when you have like only 2 or 3 devs creating your website or your builder, and they're not getting like user feedback, the whole thing might crumble. But when they're having feedback, like how with the Bricks, they have their Bricks forum, and then people keep giving them feedback. Oh, this is not working well. This is working well. This is how the code should look like, and this and that. And that constant feedback from the users will keep making your thing better and better. And hopefully all of these builders will get to a point where we cannot really differentiate them. We only differentiate them because we just want to differentiate. But in terms of their code, hopefully it will get to a point where their codes are all like outputting great code and outputting correct code that we can use, not having divception where there's a div within a div within a div, and you're trying to add area label, and the area label is going to the wrapper div rather than going into the element and other kind of things like that. But hopefully we'll get to that point where all of our divs are like the way we put it, what you see is what you get. That's what we are hoping to get to, where what you see is what you get, and then it comes with the correct default. So our tabs, our accordions, our buttons, everything should be using proper code. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, please do drop them in the comments and we'll answer them. And I think in about 5 to 10 minutes, 5 minutes, I'll be going off. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments and we'll see what we can do. So let me go ahead and see. Hopefully I'll be doing this build again, the speed build, but at a slower pace, and then I'll release a video showing how I built it, most likely using a framework, but that will be on the side. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, let's see if I can get let me go back to that page that will show how everything is. I'll just talk about that a little bit and we'll go off. Okay. Yeah. So as you can see, these are the key principles. We should have perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Then when it comes to our images as well, the alt text, that is something that is very contentious. Different people have different ideologies for their alt text. So when you have like a user card whereby the image and the heading are literally saying the same thing, like maybe David, the image of David, and then the heading is also David, what is expected is that you should give the image an alt attribute which is equal to blank. Don't be giving the image because you're just creating redundant information for screen readers. They will hear David graphic and then they will hear the David again. So David, the name, and then David graphic. This is pointless. So when the image and then the text that just follows the image are the same, give the image a blank alt text. Then if the image is a link, so like our site logo, it should describe in details the function rather than the description of the image. You should describe the function. What is the image taking you to? So it's taking you to the home page. So say the Daveden home or David home or Pixel Goat home or Pixel Goat home page, something like that. Or you can just give it a blank alt text and use a hidden screen reader text to say Daveden home. Anyone will work. And other kind of images that are decorative, you can give them alt text that are blank so that when a screen reader user gets to it, it will just skip it. It will not read that image. In terms of readability, like I said, use the simplest language. So just this, let me just put it in the chat again. This is the key takeaway you should take from this whole discussion is you should read this content and abide by the rules that are stated in that content. So let me put it up on screen. So yeah, that's the key takeaway you should have. Just make sure your content is having all of these principles, you are following them, and you will get far. So in terms of color, you should not use color alone to convey information. It should always be like in twos. So there'll be color and then maybe an underline or something like that. Something more than just color or like a high contrast. Maybe you change the color from white to black and the text from black to white. Something that is the change is so visible that it's hard to miss. Then your forms as well. That's one issue that I think Bricks has. Their forms are not very accessible. They're not using the right tags for their forms. I don't know if they have fixed it now, but their forms are not accessible. That's why people recommend using things like WS Forms or Gravity Forms or Fluent Forms, because those ones, they had accessibility in mind while they were building it, especially Gravity Forms. Then for your links and buttons and other things like that. Okay, yeah. Thank you all for watching. And say a big thank you to Max, to WebMega, to Eddie, and every other person, Carapos, everyone who joined. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in a future live video. Hopefully, we get to learn from each other better, and I will not be doing too many rambling and too much ranting. That will be a better stream. So hopefully everything works out just fine. So let me go ahead and see. So until next time, bye.